Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
Well, tonight we're going to talk about one of the more unusual but timely trends when it comes to weddings. Oregon's legalization of marijuana has given way to weed bars at weddings. Reggie tells me this came up when he had the networking group Women Grow on the show recently. A couple married a few weeks ago in West Linn appears to be one of the state's first to add a weed bar to their big day.
Oh, it was absolutely beautiful.
The summer wedding of John Elledge and Whitney Alexander included a weed tent on the family Christmas tree farm in West Linn.
We were shocked, utterly shocked at the response. People loved it. I'm still getting 15 to 20 texts a day from people saying what a life-changing event that was and what a great experience it was to have a smoke tent there.
The California couple used Lake Oswego's Bridal Bliss to plan the day. It was their first request for a cannabar.
We posted a couple photos from that wedding on Instagram and Facebook, and they have just blown up. They've gone viral, and people either love it, they think it's such a fun idea, or hate it. They think it's just disgusting.
Key for the Bridal Bliss wedding planner was safety, providing transportation for all the guests. The couple came up with the product and hired the bud tender to control consumption.
With the new recreational laws, you can only have up to 8 ounces on private properties. We had about 13 different strains there.
I thought maybe it would pull a lot of people away from the reception and that a lot of people would be hanging out in the tent, but it actually did the exact opposite. People really just kind of popped in.
At the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, they admit this is new territory.
Yours was the first question as to whether or not marijuana can be consumed at a wedding in terms of a reception. Well, if someone's holding a wedding ceremony and a reception in their private home or a member of the wedding party's home, alcohol and marijuana are being consumed on the premises, that's allowed.
Weed bars are not allowed any place that has a liquor license, like a restaurant, and people with a liquor license, like a caterer, can't serve alcohol where marijuana is also available.
Caterers should be aware that they can't be bartenders and bud tenders.
The groom, in what may be a first of its kind for Portland, is happy to be a pioneer. He's a professional marijuana grower in California who thinks offering weed to his guests made the day extra special.
The oldest person we had in the tent was an 81-year-old woman that was in there who hadn't smoked weed since the 60s. She loved it.
Now, the OLCC does point out that for now, if there's a liquor license involved, there can't be any pot served, but they add state lawmakers could someday change all that.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
This is the Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Testes, 1, 2, 3. Testes, 1, 2, 3. It works. You got to put everything back together after the Clio Cannabis Cup. It's all here. Live from the PetPain.com studios, it is another edition of the Full Melt Show. And man, I'm telling you, I needed a breather, a little break after that whole weekend fiasco. Talking about marijuana tourism. I think it's fascinating, and we'll talk about the Cannabis Cup a little bit later, maybe after the break. Right now, I want to tell you that if you're going to a wedding, and you know, this is the time of year where weddings get done, isn't it? I mean, a lot of weddings happen in the summer, the late summer, and the fall. Sometimes you get some spring weddings. This is the time of the year where people are getting hitched. They're hitching up. You know, there is no divorce season. There's always a wedding season. And, you know, when people go to weddings, they like to enjoy themselves. They like to kick back and relax. And, you know, I can tell you that just about every wedding that I've ever gone to, there's always somebody from one side of the family or another that at least the reception, sometimes before the wedding, they're standing out back behind the dumpster smoking a doobie. Shh, don't let anybody know. Don't get that on your hands. You're going to smell. Yeah, that's what they do. I mean, they'll be standing out there. I got rid of that buzzy noise. There was some fuzzy noise going on. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You shouldn't have to hide behind the dumpster or sit out in the car and clam bake out there. I mean, you know, half these people came to this wedding loaded up. I mean, half the family, half the wedding party comes loaded. And if they didn't come preloaded or at least a little lubricated, it certainly happens at the reception, doesn't it? Now, why in the world wouldn't it make sense? Oh, you know, the answer is it does make sense. That's what the answer is. Why wouldn't it make sense to have a place where, in compliance with local law, at least at the reception, but perhaps maybe even at the wedding if you're on private property? Look, my sister got married, I think, at, in the backyard of one of her, in-laws' houses. It was a nice country estate. They had the big wedding arch installed, the flowers, everything was beautiful. I'm sure she'd never had cannabis at her wedding. But that was 25 years ago, wasn't it? It's a long time. Today, she still wouldn't have cannabis at her wedding. But if you're in a state like Michigan, now look, I think it would be great because at some events they do have this, a little tent area. It's a little cordoned off tent where entry is denied unless you have your medical card, and then you can go off into the tent and do your business, consume your medication, as it were. And if you're at a wedding party, maybe if you got some cannabis friends in your family, why wouldn't you want to have that? Oh, don't talk about the pot. You're going to create some controversy. Somebody's in-law's going to get a hair up their tail. I would say that it makes sense to let them go out and do what they do. You know they're doing it anyways. Everybody knows they're doing it. They know they're doing it. You know they're doing it. God and everybody knows they're doing it. Let them go out and do it. With some dignity. Hey, who's out there? Now that everybody's going to keep track of who's out in the tent. Now the real pot smokers are going to hide from the pot tent. This is what I foresee in the future. If you're in Oregon and you want to get into the wedding pot tent. Oh, wait a minute. There are no wedding pot tents, except for that one. I think it's a cool idea. And you know, this kind of hospitality, now that's hospitality on a personal note, you know, because I don't think there's any state, including Colorado yet, where you could do this, you know, at a public venue. You certainly couldn't do it if you were renting a hall. They probably wouldn't let you do it. Now, I don't know. A hall is private property. So why wouldn't they let you do it? It seems like they would let you do it. It seems if you wanted the business, look, is the cannabis tent absolutely necessary? Yes. Okay, where do you want it? I mean, money talks, doesn't it? I mean, if you're going to be renting an establishment, it's going to cost you a nice little penny. It's kind of hard to turn that penny away if you're not going to agree to the cannabis tent out back. Everybody's got a card. It's all legal. What are you worried about? And it's not just this kind of hospitality, but we've talked before in the past about bed and breakfasts, hotels that have made some kind of legal, I don't know, what's the word, some kind of legal availability for cannabis consumption on the property. Like, you know, there's a lot of states where you can't consume smoke of any kind in any building if it's a public place. Michigan's one of them. I'd like to really, you know, now that marijuana is becoming more vastly available in places like Las Vegas and in other cities and states where they have casino gambling, it'll be Ohio here pretty soon, won't it? If they pass legalized marijuana in Ohio, medical marijuana in Ohio, wouldn't they have to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? If you go into, you know, if you have to marry those two things, like two legislative bills. I mean, they go into a session where the two bills get married from the Senate and the House in the federal government. Like if the House has a version of a bill, the Senate has a version of a bill. They have different versions. There's a conference committee. That's what it is. It goes to a conference committee and they hash it out. Well, we'll include this. We'll take that out. And it doesn't get voted on by either side anymore. Once it goes to conference committee zips together the two sides, and that's what is going to be passed forward to the president. Same thing here, really. I mean, it would make sense that cannabis and hospitality just kind of go together. And if you're going to have a bed and breakfast, you might want to consider whether or not cannabis should be a part of your fare. If you've got a hotel, especially if you're in a state that's legalizing or that's already legal, isn't there a marketplace created for people who are at these places that want to use cannabis legally? I mean, if you had to at a hotel, like right now, if you want to go to your hotel, you can whip out your booze. There's probably some right in the little refrigerator right there next to the bassinet. Hey, that's what's there. You open it up, there's some booze in there if it's a nice place. If it's not, there's usually a place where you can at least go down the hall and get some ice to put with your booze. People consume booze in those places all the time. Now, can you imagine for one moment if you had to go outside of your room to consume your liquor? There'd be nobody in that building. Very few. There would be a few tired people sleeping. There'd be a few people who can't drink because they're not of age. There'd be a few people who can't drink because they don't drink anymore. And the rest of them be all drinking outside the room because you can't smoke in that room. And you can't do it in public, so they're going to be hanging out in their cars and behind the dumpster. Is that where you want everybody? Really? Is that what you want them doing? I know the police would like them there because it's easier to find them. Look, I'm telling you, anywhere USA, absent the smell, the aroma, and there's a way to deal with that too, pick a windy day, you could be standing out on the balcony of any hotel outside, smoking. Nobody knows what you're smoking. You're standing there smoking on the balcony. Who's going to know? You and anybody that might smell it and look at you. And hopefully by then you'll be done. It's a little harder to hide it in a circle, isn't it? But look, cannabis hospitality is big. And one of, tourism, Market Watch says it's a budding industry. I mean, there's a whole article on it. We'll get into it. I guess we'll have to do it after, maybe at the 7:30 mark. We'll talk about recreational marijuana and how it affects the hospitality industry. When we come back on the other side of the break, I want to do a Clio Cannabis Cup recap. Your phone calls next on The Full Melt Show. Don't go away.
You're getting The Full Melt.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at Canalock.com. Visit Canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Get growing with GrowMax. Indoor, outdoor, beginner, or a warehouse full of Gavitas. Probiotic organics, or huge production with Max Power Monster Aeroponics systems. We can help you rock it. YouTube GrowMax with 2 X's. Customer service is why we're blowing up. And I'm Dave. My cell number is 906-221-2111. We also specialize in electrical and HVAC and new double-ended bulb technology. 906-221-2111. Get growing. GrowMax.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dordt Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
Don't miss the first ever cannabis competition this year as the prize contest moves from Amsterdam to Jamaica. That's right, it's all Jamaican fun now with the big cup competition in Negril this November. Get your best travel accommodations now at JamaicaPot.com. Pack your beach bong and swimsuit and party down at the warm sandy beaches of Negril, Jamaica for the first ever big cannabis event this year. Do it in style or come have fun on a budget. Best travel prices now at JamaicaPot.com. That's JamaicaPot.com.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
You can hear us Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today, taking a little diversion into the 8 p.m. hour. For a change, I'll tell you, there was a lot of stuff to do after coming back after the Cannabis Cup in Clio, Michigan this past weekend. What an amazing time. And a little bit of irony attached, too. With us on the phone, I believe, is Jamie Lowell. Jamie, are you there?
I am here.
Oh, man, what that is a familiar voice from this weekend. Listen, what a fabulous time. The irony being that I had Dan Skye on the show Thursday last talking about, I said, Dan, look, I looked at the weather report. It looks like it's going to be fabulous. Beautiful weather on both days, sunshine, nice, cool, not too humid. And I think it was a little more humid we anticipated. But then we had a bit of a repeat, but not quite as bad. Not nearly as bad.
It wasn't quite as bad. No.
It wasn't anywhere near as bad as we had last year. At least they didn't have to cancel the Cup because it's outdoors, right?
Yeah, most of it is, even though there's tents and things like that. Both years there was lightning and some other heavier conditions, so they needed to, for safety purposes, kind of wrap it up early. But this year there were a lot more people, a lot more excitement, a lot more activity, and the storm wasn't as bad as last year. So
no,
everything
it was just
was a little bit better.
A lot of steady rain. There was a little bit of lightning, but I'm telling you, last year the wind is what got us. That wind was pushing that rain around like, oh my, they were bullets. Water bullets is what they were. But so listen, what did you notice when you were out there? Give us a little recap of what the Cannabis Cup, what you walked away with, besides a good buzz.
Well, I actually go there to work usually. Of course, I did, partake as many did while there, and that's certainly a part of the whole thing. But there's parts of the things that get a little extreme for me. I like naked women walking around. I have to admit, and stuff like that. But but some of the stuff gets a little extreme and gets more on the recreational side. This was the Medical Cannabis Cup. And I went there with the intent on helping to educate people and help to put together the local panels and really work that. We got some great information out to people. I've got nothing against the rest of it, but my focus is more on the
medical,
on the education and medical side, and we did a great job of that this weekend. I was really happy with all the panels.
I did not get a chance to sit in and listen on any of the panels because I was outdoors at the tent doing the show. And when you came by, you and Rick Thompson came by from doing a panel appearance, I would assume. There was, we were sitting there with somebody from Jimmy's Genetics, or Jimmy Johnson Genetics, I think is what it was, the guy.
Okay.
And he brought over some badass cannabis oil. It was like a wax. And he was going to do some dabs. And we hadn't done any we don't usually dab or smoke on the air. We don't do that for the most part. And so I figured, well, since we're at the Cannabis Cup, and he had some really
When
bad...
in Rome.
Right. Might as well check it out. So what I thought we would do, because Robert kept coming up with crazy vocabulary terms he was deeming his own, and so we had a little stoner competition to recognize vocabulary, and it got a little persnickety, didn't it?
It did. That was one of the words. And, of course, you happened to be laying those on our resident genius, Rick Thompson.
Man,
so he had no problem
he was
knocking those out of the park.
Oh, man, he was pulling it out like he had a Webster's in front of him.
Yep. And he was challenged by it, and he's like, well, that's what you get for trying to stump a fucking genius.
I know Rick was good and feeling good about that time, but neither one of you guys would smoke. You guys are like, no, we're good. But we'll answer the questions. Anyway, so it was a good time, wasn't it?
Man, it was great. It was energizing. I'm ready to do some more work now. I was kind of burned out a little bit leading up to it throughout the weekend, but I feel accomplished now. I know we did some good work that weekend.
Literally, and, that's the one time where you can. That's the one time where you can use the term "burned out" and it means what it says.
Yeah, and I was there wearing many hats, and one of them was Third Coast, and my partner set up a beautiful tent with air conditioning in it. And
whoa, you had AC going on?
We had AC. We had a nice bar with all of the things that you may want. I don't drink, but all the cannabis type things that somebody may need for their situation, and couches and chairs and really cool people that I haven't seen for a long time stopping by to visit. And I just had a blast. I mean, on Saturday, I have to admit I didn't work as hard as Sunday. First half of the day I had stuff to do, and then when I realized that all of my obligations were met, I stayed pretty glued inside that tent, man. Just dealt with a lot of really cool people coming in and out of there, and I had a blast. And it started off the night before Saturday down in Detroit at an event called the Secret Session. We've talked about it on this show a couple times.
Well, it was on this show.
That just worked out.
You guys broadcast. It was on the show, yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, of course. We cast from there under Full Melt, and that was really cool. I really appreciate that, too. By the way, we now have a little mobile setup so we can do maybe things like that in the future. And that particular gathering was also awesome. And the scene there and the energy around there was also inspiring. And we think that we'll probably do some more events at that location down in Detroit. It's the old pickle factory, kind of near Eastern Market a little bit. Right. Really great space, really cool people who run it.
It's down by Burt's Warehouse Theater, down in that neighborhood.
Maybe a half mile from there, and just working on maybe doing some more things there, including the return of Secret Sesh ever so often. And
that would be really cool if they could make it a mainstay.
Yeah. Man, from what I understand, those guys had a blast, and they spoke with our local organizers today at lunch, and were not only into it, but they suggested it, so they must have had a good time.
Let me see if I can pull up. I think I got something for you here, Jamie. This is what you were missing. I used the audio Saturday, so I hope you don't mind. I stole the Secret Sesh audio, but I made special rejoins. Let me see. Where's a little? I know I have a clip here. Here we go. Where is it at here? Where did it go? Pressure data. Oh, I know where it's at. It's in another drive. Hang on. I got to play this for you, though, because it's kind of cool. I spent all the time making it. I might as well show it off, right? I don't know.
No, that was cool. We need to get better in our mobile broadcasting situation. There's no question about that. But the fact that we were able to do it from there was cool, and it was appreciated. And we got a couple of good interviews in there, I think.
It worked out really well. Here we go. Secret Sesh template. No, I don't know. Where did the secret tricks? Oh, here we go. Let's see if this is it. I don't know. Let's see. I think it might be. I'm going to play it here. As soon as it takes a second.
It's right next to your file called Pussy.
Here we go. Hang on. Listen.
It's the Full Melt.
Oh, that's not it. Wait a minute. There's more.
It's the Full Melt.
I think this is a
It's
track.
the Full Melt.
Oh, this is a track session.
It's the Full Melt.
Damn it.
Voice exercises for Steve Green.
It's the Full Melt.
Oh, Jesus. That's
the
not the whole. It's the whole melt. Wait a minute. It's the wait. No, there's I thought I saved it. Maybe oh, wait a minute. I know where it's at. Hang on. I got it right here. I got it in a different spot. Here it is. I think it's this one.
She loved it.
Oh, no. That's not the one. You see, you do live radio, you get screwed like this when you're not prepared. It might be here. Let me.
Unfortunately, I'm all too familiar with that whole scene, so it doesn't bother me.
It's the Full Melt.
No, that's other stuff.
It's the Full Melt.
That's not working.
That's what you were in a bathroom there somewhere.
No, I saved it somewhere. I think I ended up saving the drop. There's actually a piece off the beginning of the audio from this where he's like, she likes it. And I was like, oh, I'll use that. And I think that's what this thing was. I'll play it again for you. If you couldn't make it out, it might not be a good drop because I don't think you can make it out.
Loved it. Loved it.
Oh, it's not long enough. What the hell is that? I don't even know. That's not what I was saying.
Unfortunately, I don't hear that. I don't hear that very often, so I'm not sure. I said very often because actually it does happen sometimes.
Occasionally, once in a while, anyways. Listen, is there something going on? So this secret sesh, you're saying it might be coming back?
Yeah, not only that, but like other events as well. That we had some brainstorming going on today, just thinking about the possibilities. We're so inspired by the success and the space and the people who want to work with us on this. That we're talking about comedy shows, medicated dinners, a play, bands, secret sesh coming back. I mean, there's lots of opportunities there to get together and have some fun and do some good work. And I think we want to try to keep that going now. There's been some energy created.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a good time. It's a lot of fun. I gotta make out the time here on the timeline. Hang on. 26. There we go. All right, now I know where we're at. You know what happened is when I was playing around with the audio, our timeline for the show audio gave up. It's like, oh no, I'm done. So I got to restart it now, but from an appropriate place, and 26 is where it's at. There we go.
There you go. 26 is always appropriate. Yep.
Now I wanted to. Was there? I guess if there's people who were at the Cannabis Cup, if you want to call and talk about what happened, if there was anything that stood out in your head, and I got a couple of things we'll mention before we get out of the break, into the next break and on to the next subject. There's a couple of notable things I'd like to talk about. 1-844-420-TALK. I'm a little hoarse. 1-844-420-TALK, recapping the Clio Cannabis Cup. I think it's 8255 if you don't know what the talk numbers are. 844-420-8255.
Yeah, I spent some time on that. T-A, where's that? L and K are the same numbers. So,
they are the same numbers. It gets 8255 are the last four. Now, I one of these, this is, I wanted to ask you about this. Because this kind of fell on me by accident. I completely didn't. I was blindsided by it. So Rick brought in Dr. Wagner. Now, was Dr. Wagner on one of the panels? Is that what was going on?
Yeah. I actually put together all the local panels this year, and the last one of the event was dedicated to a medical discussion, and specifically about autism, because autism was just added to the qualifying conditions list. And many people on the panel had a part in that, including Dr. Wagner, and he is just a great guy and did great work and worked really well with this whole group of people, Michael Comorn and Joe Stone and Dave Brogren and others, and Tim Knowlton, the attorney, and they really did some amazing things. Now we need Zimmer from Lara to take this
sign off
to its full completion and put it on there so that Dr. Wagner, who was on your show for a while, can treat his own son who has autism.
Right. Well, and do it without fear of repercussion or reprisal.
Well, I'm sure he's like taking care of his son as well as he can.
Right.
But there really should be no looking over your shoulder. It should just be okay.
Yeah, exactly. So now so we talked about autism because I thought that was an important thing. I was really thankful that Rick had brought Dr. Wagner over.
Sure.
But so we talked about autism, and we hit that one out of the park. I mean, we kind of covered all the bases about how it's important, autism being a spectrum. We had a really good long conversation about autism in general and how medical marijuana helps autism because I didn't understand the necessary connections.
Right, totally, man. That guy Joe Stone, that's your next conversation, and you can catch him. He's up in the UP, but it's only a phone call away.
Yeah, no,
and he will tell you about how he made all those connections to determine some of these things.
Well, listen,
that is very interesting.
So what when we got out of it, he was talking about it because the whole time he wanted to tell me about the science of it, and I just didn't want to talk over people's heads because we'd be talking about terms and conditions and things that people weren't familiar with, and so I said let's just keep it basic. But he kept kind of pointing that direction during the conversation. He kept trying to lean in there. So when we started going to break, he started leaning in there anyways. And he started talking about some of the science. And I'm like, we're talking over people's heads. And the music came up, and we were going to break. And I'm like, Dr. Wagner, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. And then we went to break. And then I got off. I took the headphones off during the break. And I was like, Dr. Wagner, thanks for coming out. And then I said, now, wait a minute. You said something there at the end about this. And so we started talking during the commercial break. Because I was kind of blowing it off because I didn't want to get into the science because it's just, like I said, over people's heads. So when I started talking to him during the break, he gave me a bit of, he started finishing what he was talking about going into the break. And I was fascinated because it was a little off topic for the autism and marijuana subject, but it had to do with vaccinations. Are you familiar with that part, the autism and vaccinations and the tie-in and the work?
Yeah, just loosely. I mean, I've heard this discussion, and he brought it up again on the panel, and it is quite interesting.
Look,
and he also talks about Monsanto's too, which is
Monsanto's a part of this. Roundup is a part of this, and so he went on to explain, and he tied he connected the dots. Listen, if you got a chance, because we haven't got, we're going to go to break here in a second, and I'm going to lose you. But if you got a chance, people listening, go back and listen to the show this weekend that had Dr. Wagner in it. I think it was Sunday, wasn't it Sunday?
Yes,
there was Sunday's show. Find the segment with Dr. Wagner in it, and he's in 2 segments. There's a commercial break in between. Listen to that whole thing because I'm telling you it's fascinating how he connects the dots between Monsanto and Roundup and soybeans, which is the most commonly consumed food in the chain, I guess, that Monsanto produces that are resistant to Roundup, and I guess there's an abundance of oh boy, now I've lost the connection because I don't have the full story in front of me. But there's something in those. I know this. So when you're feeding these kids these genetically modified soybeans or any food that's been genetically modified and is resistant to this Roundup thing, that's why they make the seeds in the Roundup so that they can work together for, you get a more abundant crop and no weeds and no pests. So, well, mostly weeds, and they've still got the pesticide issue. But anyways, the point being that they're eating this food, and it's building up this glutamate thing. And this glutamate thing is what's causing this problem with it has to do with converting glutamate to glutamine, and it has to do with the way that a neuron in the brain behaves. And
they can't absorb other things, too. It stops other things that are necessary from being absorbed. Well, I don't remember the exact science of it either.
The tie-in was that the MMR vaccine has a live virus in it that is it needs this glutamate, or is it the glutamate? I don't. It needs this substance I think it is the glutamate to sustain to be sustained. Really high levels of it, so it's like an egg yolk. The virus is eating this to stay alive in the vaccine, and it's these high levels that are causing these kids to have these syndromes. This be part of that spectral disorder. It's believed, and there's MIT research to prove it, and I'm going to get Dr. Wagner on this show and break that story open because I think it's a bigger story than medical marijuana by itself.
No, it's awesome, man, and when he was on the panel...
Go ahead, we can still hear you, Jamie.
When he was on the panel saying this stuff, I was blown away, too, and somebody was video recording it, so that's out there, too. Let's get him back on, that's the thing.
No, for sure. Jamie, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man.
It's Third Coast Compassion. It's Third Coast Dispensary in Ypsilanti. Go visit them if you're in Michigan. Thanks so much, Jamie.
Thank you. Great show.
We'll talk to you soon. We'll be back after the break talking about marijuana tourism on the Full Melt Show.
Getting the Full Melt.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit PetPain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. PetPain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
Get growing with GrowMax. Indoor, outdoor, beginner, or a warehouse full of Gavitas. Probiotic organics, or huge production with Max Power Monster Aeroponics systems. We can help you rock it. YouTube GrowMax with 2 X's. Customer service is why we're blowing up. And I'm Dave. My cell number is 906-221-2111. We also specialize in electrical and HVAC and new double-ended bulb technology. 906-221-2111. Get growing. GrowMax.
Don't miss the first ever cannabis competition this year as the prize contest moves from Amsterdam to Jamaica. That's right, it's all Jamaican fun now with the big cup competition in Negril this November. Get your best travel accommodations now at JamaicaPot.com. Pack your beach bong and swimsuit and party down at the warm sandy beaches of Negril, Jamaica for the first ever big cannabis event this year. Do it in style or come have fun on a budget. Best travel prices now at JamaicaPot.com. That's JamaicaPot.com.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
We don't often give out the Cadillac no smell bags phone numbers, but it's an 800 toll-free number, 844-420-TALK. Cadillac sponsors those phone lines. Back live in the PetPain.com studios on the Full Melt Show talking about marijuana tourism, and I'll tell you what, it is a budding industry according to CBS's Market Watch. You know, while people use marijuana to treat pain, nausea, and other conditions, health experts are warning that overconsumption can lead to increased heart rate, delayed response rate, and feelings of paranoia or anxiety. Tourists interested in states and cities where it's legal to buy and consume cannabis without a medical license has increased, according to a Hotels.com search data, and new industries are seeking to serve those travelers. But while entrepreneurs increasingly see an opportunity to grow a new offshoot of the industry, the travel industry, complications still exist, likely restraining the industry's early growth. Federal law does prohibit marijuana, though the Obama administration has generally left enforcement to the states. It's hard to know where people are able to use marijuana, said David Blanford, a spokesman for Visit Seattle. They are legal and enforcement questions, and it's a tricky proposition. Even in states where recreational marijuana is legal, it's prohibited to smoke in public. And as I told you earlier, most hotels don't allow smoking in rooms. Seattle's proximity to the Puget Sound area and Lake Washington, meanwhile, has created confusion for local law enforcement regarding the legality of its use on boats or near the Canadian border, according to Blanford. Advertising and interstate commerce raise other concerns. In Washington state, it's illegal to advertise marijuana products within 1,000 feet of schools and other areas that cater to children, or to place product advertisements on a publicly owned or operated property. It's also illegal, I'll tell you, to transport cannabis across state borders. Remember that always. Visit Seattle is worried that tourists or marijuana businesses might run afoul of those laws. It's a concern, said Blanford. It's a big question mark on our end. Other states are proceeding cautiously in their efforts to market themselves to would-be marijuana tourists. As of July 1st, it became legal to smoke pot recreationally, but there were no distribution channels, said Lene Gagliano, a spokeswoman for Travel Oregon. Unless you're growing it on your own, there's no way to consume it. New state regulations are expected to make legal distribution easier, Gagliano said, but the question about public consumption and advertising remain. Consequently, Oregon has not begun heavily marketing itself as a destination for marijuana enthusiasts, focusing instead on its culinary and natural attractions. Come to Washington State for its apples. Come to Oregon for what? The Trailblazers? For now, we're going to stick with those things that we know are compelling reasons to visit Oregon. Despite the challenges in these states, companies are finding ways to capitalize on the newfound interest in marijuana-related tourism. My 420 Tours, founded in 2013, gave its first tour during World Cannabis Week, a festival in Denver during the week of April 20th, the New Year's of Cannabis, according to Chief Operating Officer Danny Schaefer. The term 420 originated in the early 70s, as you might know, in San Rafael, California, according to legend, when a group of teenagers decided to meet regularly at 4:20 p.m. to search for an abandoned plot of marijuana plants. I think they were all heading off to get stoned myself. There was no plot, abandoned plot. Who abandons a plot? The company provides tours, including transportation, hotels, and activities, including dispensary tours and cannabis cooking classes. Schaefer says My 420 Tours has partnerships with hotels that allow marijuana use so tourists can try recreational marijuana without worrying about public use laws. All-inclusive tours start at $1,295 per person. That's $1,295, not $13 per person. That doesn't include airfare. On our tours, visitors can safely and legally consume cannabis, as well as get an education and experience what has happened here in Colorado, Schaefer said. He estimates that My 420 Tours hosts about 300 to 600 guests per month. It depends on the season. About 70% of tour visitors are traveling to Colorado for the first time and include frequent consumers, first-timers, people celebrating retirement, and potential marijuana entrepreneurs and investors. We have a mix of guests from all over the world, Schaefer said. To avoid any issues of interstate commerce, Schaefer says My 420 Tours collects leftover cannabis from guests before they arrive at the airport. The extra marijuana is then donated to nonprofit organizations for demonstration or educational purposes. Ha-ha. American Cannabis Partners, a marijuana entrepreneurship consulting firm, is opening Colorado's first weedery, entering the popular winery and brewery tourism market. The $35 million Colorado Cannabis Ranch and Amphitheater, slated to include open-air greenhouses, a dispensary, a gift shop, an amphitheater for musical performances and community classes, even a rooftop bar and restaurant, scheduled to break ground in Denver in the fourth quarter of this year. ACP founder Christian Hagaseth came up with the idea after realizing how much money growers were spending on the electricity to power indoor growing warehouses. Don't we all know? In Colorado, we're blessed with 300 days of sunshine a year, Hagaseth said. Warehouses are just recreating the sun. Excuse me. Got a little thing going on, a little flinny thing. Yeah, I'll turn the mic down. That's better. That's much better. Additionally, Hagaseth said that as a longtime grower, he saw an opportunity to take advantage of the curiosity surrounding the young industry. People unfamiliar with marijuana have always asked a lot of questions about the industry, Hagaseth says. You say Hagaseth says. Say it 5 times. Hagaseth says, Hagaseth says, Hagaseth says, Hagaseth says, Hagaseth says, Hagaseth says. I said it 5 times. Can you? A lot of aspects of what it means to grow marijuana in a hydroponic environment blew people away, he said. People's minds were changing. They were really opening up to the fact that marijuana is just a plant. The company is optimistic. It's expecting to generate just over $90 million in revenue from the weedery during the first few months of operation. Because of current Colorado public use laws, though, weedery visitors will not be permitted to smoke on the property. However, they can buy cannabis products on site. You just can't smoke it there. Buy it here, smoke it somewhere else. Hagaseth hopes that the weedery will attract a variety of customers, as well as become a hub for community events like yoga classes and musical performances. Hey, shout out to Bob and Kim Johnson up there at the Sweet Leaf and at that wonderful place they call Sacred Elements. I think they got a head start on what these guys are planning in the future. We want to be open and accepting of everybody from all walks of life, he said. We hope that a group of people can form their own opinion on marijuana from an enlightened perspective. Prohibition has cast a shadow on the opinion of what marijuana really is. He adds that he has been exploring sites for similar projects in Nevada, Hawaii, and Massachusetts, which have all legalized medical marijuana. We may be the first, but we certainly won't be the last, Hagaseth says. Hagaseth says, Hagaseth says, Hagaseth says, Hagaseth says, Hagaseth says. I did it again. The hope is that weederys become as popular as wineries and breweries. And clearly, it will. There's no way that you're going to keep marijuana out of the hospitality industry. It may be something that comes in baby steps, as you're seeing it happen in places like Oregon and Washington State. Hospitality in Colorado has already been an accepted fare. I mean, that's just the way that it is. I have a feeling that the dog has gotten loose. The studio dog may have gotten loose again. Hang on. This may be bad news. Hold on. Don't tell me the studio dog got loose. The studio dog got loose. Come on. Come on, studio dog. Thank you. Dude, hang on. Interrupted by the studio dog. Is that all you got to say for yourself? Say something. That is the studio dog. I don't know if it made any noise. I don't have my headphones on. Off with you. You need to... That's like the third time you've escaped this week. You're an escape hound. He lays down and casually relaxes like, look, I'm home. Shut up, I'm home. Don't worry about it. I'm going to do it the next time you tie me up, too. Woody, the studio dog, is a foster. He is a pit bull. He's an awesome animal. He is available for adoption. I would love to make him an addition to my home. I don't think I have here what it takes to house poor Woody. He's such a great dog. See, I said his name. He's coming right over to my lap. Would he sit? One command, he sits. Woody, give me 5. Gives me 5 right away. One paw. Woody, if I give him the hand signal, lay down. No, don't give me 5. You got to lay down. Lay down. Nope, lay down. Lay down. Lay down. 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 He doesn't like down as much. He likes to fight down because he doesn't want to lay down. 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 He's going down. Good boy. He's a good boy. So, interrupted by the studio dog. Try to do a story about cannabis. The dog won't let it happen. That's the second time in 2 weeks the studio door has been knocked on by an escape dog. I don't know how he does it. He's on a cable. It's like a 30-foot cable, so we can't chew through it. It's a rubberized cable. It clips onto his collar. It's on a spindle. It's posted into the ground like about 1.5 feet or 2 feet deep. And it doesn't move. It just spins around. He doesn't get trapped on anything. But this is the third time this week, or the third time in 2 weeks, the second time since while I was on the air, that somebody came from outside the studio with the dog in tow, telling me about the escaped studio dog. He's here with his collar. The clip on the cable looks normal. There's nothing different about that thing. Somehow he manages to maneuver. He's an intelligent dog. The clip off the collar. I don't know how he's doing it. At first, and he smells like poo. Oh, he did it again. He did this earlier today. He escaped the cable and ran away. And I went out looking for the dog. By the way, the show's ending now. Is the show ending? No, it's not ending. We got a few minutes. He escapes the cable, and he comes. I call for him. He comes running back. And I went down to pet him, and I got this awful waft of what he was covered in, which was another animal's poo. He went and did the roll. And now he's sitting at my feet with the stench of animal poo wafting through the air. Hang on, the crate is next. Be back after the break.
You're getting the full melt.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Really easy to find us and like us on Facebook and Twitter. Go to the Full Melt page. If you want to subscribe, there's a link to iTunes. Click and subscribe. It is just that simple. Look, in just a minute, I want to tell you about what's going on with the Republicans. Republican voters, according to the Washington Post, are telling the feds to butt out of marijuana reform. I mean, that's what they're doing. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. First, I want to give you an update on the ever-changing face of marijuana reform as the Marijuana Enforcement Division in Colorado is mulling over some big changes. This posted on westward.com today. Over the past several weeks, dozens of politicians, state administrators, doctors, and industry stakeholders have been meeting and discussing potential game-changing rules for Colorado's marijuana industry, all of which will be presented at a hearing at the end of the month when public feedback will be sought. As part of the state Marijuana Enforcement Division's 2015 rulemaking session, 6 different working groups have met to, quote, discuss, deliberate, and provide suggestions, end quote, before the MED begins drafting new regulations. Issues such as commercial production limits, the sale or transfer of cannabis business licenses, and the never-ending saga of edibles packaging have been all addressed in some form, and they include some changes that could affect pot shopping from the grow warehouse to the shelf. Although discussion of House Bill 14-1366, which is scheduled to take effect January of 2016 and could result in the labeling of all marijuana edibles with a red stop sign containing the letters THC, has received most of the attention and ire from marijuana industry advocates. Proposed changes to record keeping, potency variances, and hemp testing could all cause rippling effects to the state's pot bubble. One of the rule changes would widen the scope on inventory tracking, requiring pot business employees to log more of their actions. In addition, retail establishments that were connected in some way to a crime would have to report any future suspected crimes or compromised integrity. On top of that, the transfer of plants between retail facilities would be strictly limited, and the number of times that a non-consumer visits a marijuana business would be monitored in an attempt to flush out non-licensed employees from working under the table a few days out of the week. In a win for the hemp crowd, recreational marijuana testing facilities with proper certification would be allowed to receive and test samples of industrial hemp from state-registered hemp farmers, although unregistered cultivators are still out of luck. Another potential change would make consumers' edibles experiences a little harder to predict, as the potency variance on cannabinoid products would be allowed to increase to plus or minus 15%. All testing results, both for contaminants and potency, would also have to be labeled on products, though the state still wouldn't require product testing as long as products are labeled with a warning stating it hasn't been done. There'll be a public hearing from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday, August 31st, and continuing September 1st, if necessary, at the state capitol to discuss the proposed rule changes. If you want to submit rule changes, there is a link on the westward.com story where you can achieve that. In other news, I told you that the Washington Post today reported that the feds, they want to stay out of marijuana reform. By significant margins, Republican voters in the early primary states of Iowa and New Hampshire say that states should be able to carry out their own marijuana laws without federal interference. Amen. 64% of GOP voters in Iowa say that states should be able to carry out their own laws versus only 21% who say the federal government should arrest and prosecute people who are following state marijuana laws. In New Hampshire, that margin is even slightly higher with a 67% report of GOP voters saying the feds should stay out. These numbers come from recent surveys conducted by Public Policy Polling and commissioned by reform group Marijuana Majority. They come as some GOP candidates like Governor Chris Christie and Senator Marco Rubio have stepped up their anti-marijuana rhetoric in recent weeks. We put these polls into the field because we want presidential candidates to understand that the voters in these key states, who they need to support for a win, overwhelmingly want the next occupant of the Oval Office to scale back federal marijuana prohibition, said Tom Angel. He's the chairman of the Marijuana Majority. He said this in a statement. But he adds, a small handful of the contenders are still talking about sending in the DEA to arrest people who are following state law. And we hope these new numbers send a message to those outliers that this type of outdated drug war bullying just isn't going to score any more points in 2016. And you can take those words to the bank, I'll tell you. To the bank. In a New Hampshire town hall meeting in July, late last July, Christie told voters, quote, if you're getting high in Colorado today, enjoy it. As of January 2017, I will enforce the federal laws. He recently released a TV ad accusing President Obama of lawlessness for, among other things, allowing state-level marijuana laws to stand. Asked about marijuana recently, Rubio stated, this is Marco Rubio, I believe the federal government needs to enforce federal law, he said. In May, he told ABC News, quote, marijuana is illegal under federal law. That should be enforced, end quote. Christie and Rubio are currently polling in 11th and 5th place in a GOP horse race, respectively. Opinions like theirs are increasingly outside the mainstream of GOP thought. Many Republican presidential candidates have said that while they don't condone marijuana use or legalization personally, they nonetheless support the right of states to chart their own policy on marijuana reform. This is the current position of former governor of Florida, Jeb Bush, former tech executive Carly Fiorina. I love Carly Fiorina. Everybody loves Carly Fiorina. Senator Ted Cruz, former Texas Governor Rick Perry, and Senator Rand Paul. Governor Scott Walker has given somewhat muddled responses to the question. Billionaire businessman Donald Trump has so far kept mum on state marijuana laws. Marijuana policy is not a make or break issue like jobs or the economy for most voters. But in a crowded primary field, it could mean the difference between, say, a seat at the main debate table and delegation to the sidelines, where Christie and Rubio seem to be. On the Democratic side, Senator Bernie Sanders has been hinting strongly that he favors marijuana reform, that he'll have more to say on marijuana soon. Marijuana reform advocates are hoping the Vermont senator will introduce a platform fully supporting recreational marijuana. That would sharply distinguish him from his primary rival, Hillary Clinton. The former Secretary of State has mostly avoided talking about pot. Her clearest statements on the topic came during a CNN interview last summer when she said that she wants to wait and see what happens in the states that have already legalized marijuana before deciding what to do about it at the federal level. From a practical standpoint, this stance is more or less identical to what GOP candidates like Bush and Fiorina have been saying. Candidates will likely have to contend with the fact that the opposition to federal interference in these places in state marijuana policy also runs high among state lawmakers. Earlier this month, the National Conference of State Legislators passed a resolution using the federal government not just to urging the federal government not just to butt out of state laws, but also amend the Controlled Substances Act to enshrine the federal hands-off approach to pot in the law. And I believe that's how it should be. When this day comes, however, and it will, may come sooner, may come later, the day is coming. We inch closer to it as we speak. And when it does, when federal law changes, and there's a very good chance that during this election cycle it could happen, when you get over half of the states, over 25 states, say 26, 27, 28 states, into the medical marijuana and or what do you call retail marijuana. I got to donate another $1 to MI Legalize now. I'll get some signatures instead. I'll get you 10 signatures per $1. I'm not allowed to say recreational marijuana. It's retail cannabis, and that's what we're going to call it because that's what it is. If you're one of these states that does this, you're sending congressmen and senators, legislators, off to Congress, off to the halls of the federal government to do your bidding. And the bidding of your state includes either medical or retail cannabis. Laws will change. And when that happens, things are going to be still controversial because I'm telling you, laws will change as a result of that rescheduling when it comes, and it may not be something you're happy with. We'll talk about that on another upcoming edition of The Full Melt Show.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.